Hey, is Blake thinking by any chance that if she is successful in 47-1, that all of her legal fees, all $70 million or whatever it was for all, and he only dismissed
The latest legal blow to Blake Lively just added more pressure. A judge rejected her request to have attorney fees covered, reportedly irritated by alleged threats tied to unpaid costs. The ruling signals growing frustration in court, leaving Lively facing mounting financial strain and a legal battle that's only becoming more intense. The narrative around Blake Lively has taken a sharp and dramatic turn. What once appeared to be a clear-cut public stance is now being questioned as new allegations reshape the story. Reports suggest that behind the scenes, actions were taken that raised serious concerns, including attempts to shift legal burdens onto others connected to the case. This reportedly included pressure on individuals with far fewer resources, sparking criticism about power imbalance and legal overreach. The situation has drawn particular scrutiny because it contrasts heavily with the public image being presented. Critics argue that using legal leverage in this way undermines claims of advocacy and instead paints a picture of desperation as legal costs mounted, whether fully accurate or not. These developments have intensified the controversy, leaving the case more complex and far more polarizing than it initially seemed.
You want to parade around and call a loss a victory. This is your attempt to do so. It seems like more nonsense.
The legal showdown between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni reportedly escalated into one of the most expensive celebrity disputes in recent memory, with combined legal costs said to reach nearly $60 million. That kind of spending goes far beyond a typical courtroom fight, even in Hollywood, and it raised serious questions about strategy and motive as the case dragged on. What made the situation even more striking was the perception that this massive financial burn continued despite indications from the court that the case was not leaning in Lively's favor. For over a year, Judge Louis Lyman in New York had to manage a constant flood of filings, counterclaims, and procedural disputes. The case became less about a single issue and more about an ongoing legal war of attrition. Then, just days before the trial was set to begin, a settlement was reached, effectively ending the core dispute. Under normal circumstances, that would have marked a natural conclusion for both sides to step back and move forward. However, the controversy didn't end there. Lively allegedly continued to pursue recovery of her legal fees, targeting Baldoni, his production company Wayfarer Studios, and even professionals connected to the case. This continued push for reimbursement, even after settlement, reportedly intensified the court's frustration and turned the aftermath into yet another battleground in an already exhausting legal fight.
This case from being SH, they're calling the 47.1 the core issue.
Judge just ruled that he doesn't want to see any more evidence, or he doesn't want to hear more arguments from Blake Lively on how she should recover these attorney's fees from Justin Baldoni and the Wayfarer parties. It's pretty obvious where he stands at this.
The courtroom atmosphere surrounding Blake Lively reportedly grew increasingly tense as the judge's patience began to run out. After months of dealing with an overwhelming stream of filings, the court allegedly reached a point where it had seen enough. According to reports, the judge explicitly told Lively's legal team to ease off, making it clear that no more last-minute submissions or late-night letters were needed before a final decision would be made. That kind of directive is rare and signals deep frustration from the bench, especially in a high-profile federal case. A major issue appeared to be the pattern of filings themselves. Submissions were reportedly being made extremely late, sometimes around 11 p.m. on the East Coast, which, in most professional legal environments, would be frowned upon unless absolutely necessary. Critics argue that this kind of timing can be used as a tactic to pressure opposing counsel, forcing them to respond under tight deadlines. Even more concerning was the structure of the filings. Some were said to be as long as 70-plus pages, yet only a small portion actually addressed the core legal claims, while the rest consisted of dense, heavily redacted material. To the court, this may have looked less like substantive argument and more like an attempt to overwhelm the process. The judge reportedly viewed this as a misuse of the judicial system, turning the docket into a battleground for what seemed increasingly like a personal dispute rather than a focused legal matter. Courts are designed to resolve conflicts efficiently and fairly, and when filings become excessive or strategically burdensome, it can undermine that goal. Beyond the paperwork, the controversy deepened with allegations that pressure was being placed on other individuals involved in the case, including women working in public relations and potential witnesses. If accurate, such actions would raise serious ethical concerns, particularly when financial demands or reputational pressure are involved. Judges tend to take a very firm stance against any behavior that could be interpreted as intimidation or coercion. At that point, the case appeared to shift from a conventional legal fight into something far more contentious. The combination of relentless filings, escalating costs, and alleged pressure tactics painted a picture of a dispute that had spiraled beyond control. Whether every claim holds up under scrutiny or not, the situation highlights how quickly high-stakes litigation can evolve into a prolonged and exhausting battle, one that ultimately tests not just the parties involved, but the limits of the court's patience. The contrast in the narrative around Blake Lively has become one of the most debated aspects of this dispute. Publicly, the messaging framed her as someone taking a stand, but critics point to alleged behind-the-scenes tactics that tell a very different story. Claims that pressure was placed on public relations professionals and witnesses, particularly women, have fueled arguments that the strategy went beyond standard legal advocacy into something far more aggressive and personal. The pattern of late-night filings also raised eyebrows. Submitting documents around 11 p.m. on the East Coast can significantly limit the opposing side's ability to respond before deadlines. And when those filings stretch to dozens of pages with heavy redactions, it increases both time and cost burdens. From a judicial perspective, that kind of approach can look less like diligence and more like an attempt to overwhelm the process. However, strategies like that depend heavily on imbalance. In this case, Justin Baldoni was not without resources, which meant the pressure tactics, if that's what they were, didn't land as intended. Instead of forcing a quick resolution, they arguably prolonged the fight and drew even greater scrutiny from the court. The core of the legal strategy associated with Blake Lively reportedly centered on California Civil Code Section 47.1, a relatively new statute introduced in 2023. This law, often referred to as part of broader reforms inspired by the Me Too movement, was designed with a very specific purpose: to protect individuals who come forward with allegations of misconduct from being silenced through retaliatory defamation lawsuits. In essence, it allows those deemed legitimate victims to recover attorney fees, damages, and other costs if they are targeted simply for speaking out. It's a law rooted in the idea of shielding vulnerable voices from being crushed by wealthier or more powerful opponents. In this dispute, however, that same law became a central point of controversy. Lively's legal team argued that the countersuit filed by Justin Baldoni, reportedly valued at around $400 million, was retaliatory in nature. On that basis, they sought to invoke Section 47.1 as a mechanism to shift the enormous financial burden of legal fees onto Baldoni and others connected to the case. But the effectiveness of that argument depended heavily on whether the underlying claims met the threshold the law was designed to protect. Complicating matters further were earlier developments in the case. Reports indicated that a significant portion of Lively's claims had already been dismissed, which weakened the legal foundation required to successfully apply such protections. Specific allegations also came under scrutiny, with opposing arguments suggesting that certain incidents had been mischaracterized or lacked sufficient supporting evidence. Whether those claims hold up or not, the dismissals created a perception that the case no longer aligned cleanly with the intent behind Section 47.1. Jurisdiction became another major sticking point. The primary case was unfolding in New York federal court, with connections to New Jersey where filming reportedly took place. Yet the legal strategy leaned heavily on a California-specific statute that raised concerns about whether the law could even be applied in that context.